episode of Making the Call. I'm joined by Alex this week. We're holding down the fort, breaking down all the action from NFL week two, not week two, sorry, NFL week three. I think Cowboys fans would like to pretend that it's still week two, but NFL week three in the books. And so we're going to be breaking it all down. We'll start, of course, with our one big headline before we get into all the action from this past weekend. Alex, one big headline, what you got for us?
I finally upgraded my phone. I got the new iPhone 16. It's just the regular. It's not like the Pro or the Max because I didn't need the Pro. Has like a full 4K studio in there and all that, and I was never gonna have time to actually get into that. But it's got a couple new features. It's got this little side thing that controls the camera. You can zoom in and out and snap photos like it's a real camera now.
How is that?
I think it's going to be great, like, especially if you're at a game and you don't have time to, like, flip it up and then tap. Like, you can just, boom, picture. And then they have this action button thing. It sort of replaced the silence and ringer button. But you can set it to a lot of different things. Like, if I'm at a concert or a bar, I can set it to recognize music and just click on it, and it'll do that. When I go abroad to Italy, you can set it to translate, and I can just say, here, speak into this, and it'll translate like English to Italian and stuff like that. So, And then I'm waiting for the there's a new update coming in the beginning of October, I believe, and that's when the Apple AI stuff.
I was about to say, that's all the AI stuff rolling out, right?
Yes, sir. So that's what I'm waiting for.
Okay.
But first new phone in like 4 years. So it's a big upgrade for me because I was on the 12 forever.
Interesting. Yeah, what am I on? I think I've got I upgraded 2.5 years ago, and I think I've got like the 13 Pro, 14 Pro.
Yeah.
Let me see. What? This is excellent podcasting. 14 Plus. So not the Pro, but I got the Plus, so it's the bigger one.
Okay.
But I mean, mine is still. I feel like mine's still holding out strong. I can at least get 2 years out of this thing.
They're also made out of titanium now. No more glass on the back, which I think is just nice. It's one less thing
smart
to worry about.
Yeah, that's smart.
All
right. My one big headline is it's not Rangers related, although it kind of is because the Rangers are starting a series in Oakland tonight. And it is the final series in Oakland, I believe, right?
Nope. Because the Mariners are going to be in Oakland this
is that right?
Weekend. I believe.
Hold on, let me see. No. So that's in
Seattle?
It's in Seattle. So yeah, this is the final homestand, the final series in Oakland.
Don't even get a weekend series. Jeez.
Yeah. And John Fisher, putting this in quotes, which you'd see if you're on Spotify or YouTube, because I don't think he wrote a single word of this, released a statement on Monday. And it basically is like, oh, yada, 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 this upcoming series will be the final games in Oakland, 4 World Series championships, all this history. And all our departure is very hard. We tried our best. We worked to develop a home in the Bay Area, and it just didn't work. And now we're moving to Vegas, and we hope that you will move. The fans will carry their fandom with us when we go to Vegas. I just can't stand this, man. Like, it's so disingenuous, and this whole "we tried our best" crap is just categorically false. Especially if you don't not even tried our best to stay in Oakland, but just tried our best of fielding a good baseball team. I saw this crazy nugget that in 2004, 20 years ago, the A's gave Eric Chavez $66 million in a new contract extension worth $66 million. In 2005, John Fisher took over as owner of the Oakland A's. Eric Chavez is still the biggest contract in A's history. and that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So this whole "we tried" bullcrap. Yeah, I can't stand him. He's
the worst. He hates baseball, just likes profits.
For me, it puts it into perspective because like I've been so just frustrated with Jerry Jones and so outspoken against Jerry Jones. But it is all relative, right? Because it's like, man, at least my team isn't owned by John Fisher.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I feel bad for A's fans. This has got to be hard. But
that'd be a fun draft to do back like next summer or something. Draft of bad owners or bracket or whatever.
Worst owners draft. Yeah. Trent's going to pull out like 6 hockey owners. It's going to be like, I don't even know, some crazy hockey Canadian name. And we're going to be like, yeah, sure, man. Yeah, I bet he is bad. Yeah. All right. Let's get into week 2. Let's start Monday Night Football. So we had a double header Monday night. It was the Bills versus the Jags as the first game, capped off by the Bengals versus the Commanders. And honestly, props to the Bills because there was, they had about 45 minutes of being by themselves, and then the second game kicked off. And by the time we got to kickoff for Washington, Cincinnati, the Bills game was already over. And so you didn't really have to worry about trying to keep track of both. You could just get the score updates from Scott Van Pelt on the second broadcast. I don't know did you have any takeaways or any thoughts from either of those two games? We can kind of take it wherever you want.
The first game, no, just sort of I have Josh Allen as my quarterback in my fantasy league at work, so I was very happy to watch that. And then the second game was just Jaden Daniels is a dog. Right now he looks like the far and away best QB out of the draft. I know it's early, 3 games, yada yada yada, but he just looks like he has that it factor. Like 4 incompletions yesterday. Mm-hmm. He was just making the passes, the plays when he needed to, and he looks like he's been in that offense for more than 3 games.
He looked really, really good. Really good. And he was he is now, this is for the entire regular season, so not just week 3, entire regular season. He is second behind Josh Allen in EPA per drop back at the quarterback position. Second. Ahead of Derek Carr, ahead of Brock Purdy, ahead of Sam Darnold. He's number 2. And the really impressive thing with him is that he's kind of doing it in every way. It's not like he's not a one-trick pony, right? 80% completion percentage, plus 7.4 completion percentage over expectation. You look at like some of the splits, like you go EPA versus a blitz, he's also second. EPA under pressure, he is third in EPA under pressure. So he is. Last night, he had shown signs in the first 2 games, but I don't know if you felt this way, but it felt like that was the coming out party for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. Happy for Terry McLaurin, too. I think he's just as happy to finally have a dude. He looks excited.
You think he was in shock on that first deep pass where he ended up, on the 1-yard line or whatever, where he's like, oh my gosh.
And the ball's still coming. Wow.
I didn't have to extend my arms. It just hit me in the chest. This is unbelievable.
Yeah. And then that one at the end of the play where the dude was in his face and he just threw it up. You didn't think it was going to even.
Yeah.
Just perfectly in the corner. Over the shoulder. Boom.
Apparently that pass, that touchdown pass you're referring to, had a 10% catch probability, which makes it the lowest percent catch probability touchdown so far this season.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy, man.
Not surprising.
Yeah. It's tell me if you think this is a hot take. I think by the end of this season, Jaden Daniels will pretty clearly be the second best quarterback in the NFC East.
I thought you were going to say the whole NFC for a second. It's like, whoa, but
No, not the whole NFC. NFC East. Basically what I'm saying is I think by the end of the season, people are going to think that he's better than Jalen Hurts, and I don't think that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy either, especially with the amount of turnovers Jalen's like producing every game. Dak also, like, maybe not his play, but just his team in general might sort of bring him down a bit. And I think Jalen Daniels is going to be like sort of what CJ Stroud was last year. Everyone's going to get all excited, going to see all the numbers. This is just a new kid on the block. He's a new toy. Everyone is excited about the new shiny toy.
Yeah. Yeah, Jalen Hurts, since the start of the 2023 season, has the most turnovers by a quarterback with 26.
I think he's on a streak of like 8 or 9 games since last season, too, in a row.
Yeah. Not looking great there for Mr. Hurts.
It all started because of the Drew Lock game-winning touchdown. That started everything.
Yeah.
No, what?
Another thought I had from Monday night was, is Trevor Lawrence just bad? Like,
yeah, I don't know what's going on. He's got the yips. Maybe Jacksonville's little quarterback hell. Like, it's just cursed there. You can't really succeed. But I guess Bortles succeeded, so I don't know. He just doesn't have it. Maybe.
I mean, yeah, he looks awful. I don't really know what to make of it. Like, I want to see here. Let me go EPA per drop pack so far this season. He is, hold on. He has the 6th lowest EPA per drop back of any quarterback this season. The only quarterbacks that have a lower number is, in order, Bryce Young, Will Levis, Caleb Williams, Deshaun Watson, and Bo Nix. So 2 rookies, Deshaun Watson, Bryce Young, who just got benched, and Will Levis. And then it's Trevor Lawrence.
Not a great list, especially for being like one of the appointed ones at one point in the past.
Yeah, I mean, he was billed as the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, from the college tape, it looked like everything was on track, and then Jacksonville.
And I think the weird thing with him is, like, obviously he's physically talented, but it just, I don't know. I haven't seen a moment yet this season where I'm like, oh, that was a really good play by Trevor Lawrence. Like, there's no moment that sticks out being like, oh, he like moved in the pocket. He, maybe shedded a sack and just uncorked a rocket 30 yards downfield to Christian Kirk or whoever. Like, there hasn't been anything like that. And you think of even like some of the other quarterbacks who have struggled this season, whether it's like Anthony Richardson or Joe Burrow or Jalen Hurts even. It's like all these guys have had their flashes where you're like, okay, I see the potential. I see that glimmer in there, even if the whole package isn't there. But I haven't even seen that from Trevor Lawrence. I think that's what's concerning for me.
Yeah, he sort of gives off the vibe as like a mid. He's never been a dual threat. If he doesn't have outstanding, like you said, pocket footwork and moving in and out and finding the dudes, he's just a mid quarterback. That's all he is.
Everything that was going on with Trevor Lawrence, it got me curious. I wanted to go look at like some of the quarterbacks that had been taken recently, and specifically I was gravitated to the 2021 and 2022 quarterback classes. Okay. Because I think 2023, it's too early on a lot of these guys. Oh, yeah. But 2021 and 2022, like, you would probably say Trevor Lawrence is a success right now because he got a second contract. But I don't, like, with how this is trending with him, I don't know if you're going to be looking at Trevor Lawrence even a year from now and consider, like, as a whole, it's a success. Maybe you will, maybe not. But he was a number 1 overall pick, right? Those 2 draft classes combined could be like an all-time level of just like
bad QBs,
poo-poo. Yeah.
With
like the only bright spot being Brock Purdy, who was literally the very last pick in the draft. Because, okay, here are the quarterbacks taken in 2021. Are you ready? This is in order.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence went first. Zach Wilson went second. Trey Lance went third. Justin Fields went 11th. Mac Jones went 15th. So that was it for the first round. And then you also had Kyle Trask in the second, Kellen Mond in the third, Davis Mills in the third, Ian Book in the fourth, and Sam Ellinger in the sixth. Okay.
Yikes.
You go to 2022. Kenny Pickett went 20th. That was the only first round quarterback. Desmond Ridder went in the third. Malik Willis went in the third. Matt Corral went in the third. Bailey Zappi in the fourth. Sam Howell in the fifth. Chris Oladikan went in the seventh. Skylar Thompson in the seventh. And then Brock Purdy in the seventh.
Yeah, that's bad. No wonder we're so loaded last year.
Like, what? The only quarterback you would consider to be like above average out of that whole group right now would be Brock Purdy. No, Purdy or Hurts wasn't in that draft.
I thought you said 20. No, okay. I thought I heard his name. Okay.
Yeah. But it's really just Purdy. And honestly, like the quarterback who's played better so far this season, out of those two, or really just if you isolate 2021, Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, especially with the situation he's in now. Still what he needs to do.
Yeah. Justin Hurt or Jalen Hurts was in the 2020 draft. 2020 draft is looking really good on the flip side. The first 5 quarterbacks taken: Joe Burrow, Tua, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, and Jalen Hurts. It's not a bad quarterback draft right there.
Teetering, but everybody else is good.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about a quarterback from the 2018 draft, went number 1 overall. Started out the season 2-0 with the Bucks, but laid an egg against Denver. Your man Baker Mayfield. What happened? Because I was shocked by the result of that game.
I mean, I've always known the Broncos have a good defense. It's just, can the offense score enough early to sort of keep them in the game? And I think that's what happened, because right out the get-go, they went out and scored on their first drive. Bo Nix looked pretty comfortable throughout the game. He was running and throwing. He looks like he's finally sort of found something with Cortland Sutton and the other receivers there. But I think overall, it's just the Bucks were sort of due for a stinker. They do have a lot of injuries on the offensive line, and Baker had a lot of dudes in his face the whole game pretty much. So I think just overall they were due for this stinker. Only scored 7 points the whole game. Really only had one good drive, which was that touchdown drive. But just a bummer day, especially at home.
Yeah. Yeah, it was surprising. Honestly, Bo Nix played really well. Like,
I did not see that come after the first 2 games.
No, I didn't either. And he played really well. He was middle of the pack in week 3 specifically, middle of the pack at an EPA per dropback. But I mean, you look at just his pure like stat line, right? 25 of 36, 216 yards. Didn't have a touchdown. Didn't throw a pick, but he did rush in for a touchdown. And he was just, efficient. So it was, by normal quarterback standards, it was an average day. But for a rookie like Bo Nix in his 3rd game, you consider that a big success, a big win. I did have one note on the Bucks, and that is Bucky Irving should be the running back 1. And it
called this early in the offseason, but it's going to happen. It's already happened. Pick him up.
Yeah. So this is EPA per attempt, and this is games for the Tampa Bay running back so far this season. Okay. So I'm going to list running back games in order of most EPA per attempt to least. So number 1 was week 3, Bucky Irving at a plus 0.36. Number 2 was week 1, Bucky Irving at a plus 0.09. Number 3 was actually a tie between week 3 Rachaad White and week 2 Bucky Irving at negative 0.05. And then next up is week 2 Rachaad White at negative 0.36. And then week 1 Rachaad White at the very end at negative 0.47. So Bucky Irving is outpacing Rachaad White every single week. And and he hasn't gotten, nearly the amount of carries. So I think they're going to start featuring him more. I mean, it's not even a numbers thing with him, and I'm sure you agree with this. Like, you watch the games, he just looks better. Like, he looks more explosive, makes better reads. Like, he just looks like a better running back.
Bounces off tacklers. Like, Rasheed White, he's that running back who just runs right into contact and doesn't break it. Like, it just always seems the minute he's touched, he's down. Hate it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So hopefully we get to see more of him. He looks really good. He looks really good. I've been impressed with him so far.
Bucky's a good running back name too.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I actually want to take us, we're just going to kind of bounce around throughout the Sunday. I want to take us back to last Thursday night, that Jets-Pats game.
The Jets.
Just because Rodgers looked really, really good. Like, he looked like vintage Rodgers, and that must have felt really good for Jets fans.
Oh, definitely. Like, in the third quarter, they were just chanting Aaron Rodgers because they had watched 2 quarters of competent QB play. And they were like, oh, my goodness.
Yeah. They were like a caveman discovering fire. They're like, what is this? What is this magic?
Exactly. They don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah. I mean,
Patriots have a good defense too, so that's not like a terrible unit he carved out.
No. And I think, like, so 2 things stuck out to me in that game. Like, one, his arm looks as good as ever. Like, you can tell with certain quarterbacks, the ball is just like zips out of their arm. Like, with just it's way quicker out of their arm than other guys. And he definitely has that. And then 2, like, the value that, like, an older cerebral quarterback like that has is just, like, it's hard to quantify, but then again, it kind of is easy to quantify because you can look at the way they handle, like, certain situations. And I pulled this number. So Aaron Rodgers was under pressure on 12 of his dropbacks on Thursday. On those 12 dropbacks, he was 7 for 8 for 95 yards. And he had an incredible plus 0.81 EPA per dropback, which is the highest mark for quarterbacks under pressure in a single game this season. It was eclipsed only 12 times by a quarterback, like only 12 games by a quarterback last season. And only 2 of those instances were by a quarterback with at least 10 dropbacks under pressure. So 10 of them were like, they were under pressure 5 times and they had, they were successful on those 5 attempts. But it just felt like he had an answer to everything that Pats defense could throw at him. And like you said, like, this Pats defense is a good unit. So being able to do that against them in a primetime slot, like, I don't know. I was high on the Jets going into this season, and seeing that performance on Thursday night, I was like, okay, this is why I was high on them. Like, this is why I think it could work, Yeah,
we had to see them not play the 49ers. And we saw that they look good against anybody who doesn't have, like, that elite type of defense like the Niners do.
Yeah. Okay, so let's stay in the Northeast. So the Giants, they got their first win of the season, beat the Browns 21-15.
Because if you watch Red Zone, that was the first play of the day where the Browns come out and score off. What did they fumble the kickoff right into the end zone or something like that?
No. So the Giants fumbled the opening kickoff. The Browns got it, and then the Browns' first play from scrimmage was a touchdown pass to Amari Cooper.
Yeah, and, like, the minute I saw that, I was like, all right, Browns are going to win that game. We can go ahead and just not even see this the rest of the day. And then, like, an hour later, it was 21-3 or 21-7. Daniel Jones was carving them up, and I was like, what? What's going on? What are the Browns doing? Like, crazy.
Daniel Jones, man, I have been as
just when
much of a hater. He looked good. He had a good game. And
yeah, he did.
He
definitely played better than Deshaun, which that's not hard to do. But in the battle of worst QB contracts, I think Daniel Jones coming out on top.
Well, and credit to Daniel Jones. He has figured out a recipe for success, which is just throw the ball to Malik Neighbors. And then when you get tired of that, throw the ball to Malik Neighbors. And then whenever the defense tries to take that away, just still throw the ball to Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
And it works. It works.
Crazy.
Neighbors has been like, talk about, I don't know if this is like just me kind of like maturing as a sports fan, or maybe it's because I'm a lot less like emotionally invested in the Cowboys right now.
Yeah.
But it used to be, I don't know, you probably still feel this way because you enjoy rooting for your team. But for me, it used to be like if one of the division rivals for the Cowboys had like this great player, it like pissed me off. I was like, dang it. Like, how did they end up with that? Like when the Giants got Saquon, I was like, oh, Saquon's so fun. Why did he have to go to the Giants? Like, that sucks. I don't really feel that way anymore. Like, honestly, it was cool seeing Jaden Daniels ball out for the Commanders, and it's fun watching Malik Neighbors just moss these guys as a rookie, and he's dominating. Like, he's been so impressive. I don't know what you've thought, but I can't get enough of Malik Neighbors right now.
I haven't gotten to watch much of the Giants so far this year, but the Seahawks do play them in 2 weeks, so I'm going to get to know him real soon.
Yeah.
He's going to get more defense.
Of all wide receivers who have played all 3 weeks, so basically this is a stat that excludes Cooper Kupp, he is first in targets per game at 12.3, and he's third in receiving EPA per game behind Jawan Jennings, which is pretty funny because of his monster week 3 performance, and Chris Godwin. So the numbers back it up. The eye test backs it up. I mean, he's getting 12 targets per game, Alex, and he's a rookie. It's insane.
Yeah. Who's the second receiver on the Giants, though? That's
Wan'Dale Robinson.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it checks out.
Which, okay, I'm curious now. I want to look at the most targets in a game this season. Like, where do his 3 games stack up? Cooper Kupp is obviously, he has the most in any game in that week 1 game where he had 21 targets against the Lions. And then it's Amon-Ra St. Brown week 2 where he had 18. And then it's Malik Neighbors who had 18 in week 2. And you ready for this? A couple of Seahawks. And both in week 2, Jackson Smith and Jigba with 16, DK Metcalf with 14. So Neighbors has, because he also is down at 17. So 2 of all the the games receivers have played so far this season, he's got the number 3 and really that's a long tail, tied for 9th, or tied for 8th in most targets of a receiver this season. I mean, he's a rookie. That's the crazy thing. Like all the guys I listed off, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cooper Kupp. I mean, I know Jackson Smith and Jig was a second-year guy. DK Metcalf, Rashee Rice, Devontae Adams. Like these are all studs, and like Neighbors is a rookie, and he's doing this, which is just pretty incredible.
Yeah, shout out LSU.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Vikings. I'm sad Trent can't be on. Sad he can't be on, but Vikings are 3-0. They beat the Texans 34-7, Alex. 34-7.
Shocking. Made the Texans look like the old Texans. Before they
got it crazy? And Trent, maybe plug your ears. Although you may think that the Vikings are impervious to jinx right now, which honestly I don't blame you if you feel that way. But is it crazy to just go ahead and call the Vikings like an almost lock for the playoffs?
For the playoffs, probably. I got to see their schedule, but I'm assuming they're not playing a tough schedule because they didn't win the division or anything last year. So yeah, probably 3-0. Probably playing they got 3rd place. Like they weren't good last year. So
their next, I mean, here's the thing: you look at their schedule and you're like, well, you probably wouldn't have expected them to beat both the Niners and the Texans to start the year.
Yes, so they got 2 hard ones out the way.
Their next 4 games are at the Packers, the Jets, and London, home versus the Lions, and at the Rams.
That's tough. Jeez. I mean, yeah, the playoffs still, I think, pretty much I bet if you want to go bet that, it's probably minus 220 or something right now. So
But honestly,
I think
if they get past the Rams game, that's the last game in October. Once the calendar turns to November, they have a 6-game stretch where it's the Colts, Jaguars, Titans, Bears, Cardinals, Falcons, Bears. So that's a 7-game stretch.
yeah, that's a lot easier than this first slate, and they're already 3-0. So
And they're already 3-0.
I like that it's Vikings in London. That seems right.
Yeah,
Those two
that'll
teams.
be fun. Yeah, that'll be fun. You look at some of the numbers with Sam Darnold, and we could go on and on about Sam Darnold, but I don't know about you. When I watched the Vikings this year, holy crap, Kevin O'Connell is he needs to get talked about as one of the best coaches in the NFL, or at least he needs to be talked about as one of the best offensive coaches in the NFL, because what he does with this team is just unbelievable. And they've done it without Hawkinson. They've done it without Addison. It's basically just been Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can't say enough good things about the job that he's done with Minnesota this season.
Yeah, I feel like there's a possibility that Sam Darnold could play his way into a contract. And what would that mean for JJ McCarthy?
Dude, I've wondered that. I saw someone joke that JJ McCarthy is about to get Trey Lanced.
Yeah, this is just so much similar to what happened with Geno and the Seahawks. Like, sort of a guy who just sat back for a while, learned the ropes, good when he's in for a spot start, and now he's been given the reins and he's ready to prove himself.
Yeah. I have wondered that as well. I mean, I think the more likely scenario, honestly, is Sam Darnold becomes QB1 for the New York Giants next year, and they give him a decent contract after they buy out Daniel Jones. Then the Vikings moving on from JJ McCarthy. But, I mean, it could be like a Michael Penix situation where they just continue to keep JJ McCarthy in the waiting and just keep riding the Sam Darnold thing.
Sam Darnold stays with Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings. Like, the weapons he has around him and the system, it's perfect. There's nothing better.
I mean, okay, so, I love my stats over here. So he's second behind only Josh Allen. So this is for the whole season. Second behind only Josh Allen in EPA per dropback when blitzed at a plus 0.91. I watched, so he's had 14 dropbacks where he's been blitzed so far this season. I watched all 14, and there's definitely a few, like it's not across the board, but there's a few where, blitz comes, he has to kind of move around in the pocket. He goes through some progressions and he makes a good decision, right? But dude, so many of his dropbacks are just first read, boom. He knows the guy's going to be open, boom. Doesn't have to think. Like, it's just so automatic where he just gets the ball, throws it. Like, it doesn't go through his progressions, doesn't have to look at the second read, doesn't even have to check down. It's just he knows it's right away. And I sent a clip to you guys, to the Making the Call group the other day, or maybe yesterday when I was looking at this. But, like, there was one play in particular against Houston on Sunday where they bring Jefferson in motion and the defensive back follows him, right? So they know, okay, Jefferson's got man-to-man coverage. So they get him on the outside. Then the defensive backs kind of do a little switch to where now the guy who's on Jefferson is playing deep. So he's playing like 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. And Jefferson just does a very simple out route. Blitz comes, throws it to him wide open. And it's like, it's the little things like that that just make Sam Darnold's life so much easier. And he probably can't believe how easy things are right now. And that's why it's been so successful in Minnesota.
He has come a long way from seeing ghosts with the Jets against Belichick.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing ghosts. Man, just imagine, he started off with Adam Gase, and now he has Kevin O'Connell running his offense. Talk about night and day.
Yeah. Can we talk about one QB who is seeing ghosts? It's one of my things that was top of my mind on Sunday.
Oh, one of your Sunday takes? Yeah, give it to me.
Yeah, I'm out. I am so out on Anthony Richardson. This guy.
Ooh.
He had one good game. It was week 1. He completed 9 passes and he had that one deep ball. But like these last 2 games have been awful. They've been like Justin Fields-esque without the scrambling. That pick he threw where there was just 2 guys and he almost chicken armed it right up to him like it was a can of corn in baseball, like the easiest pick that dude's ever gonna have. Like I just don't see it. I don't see it as a NFL style passer, like when they take away the QB run and the easy deep balls and play actions and all that. I don't know. What do you think? Am I overreacting, underreacting? Where you at?
You're not overreacting. You might be a little bit to say that you're completely out on him, although I don't think it's crazy. Like I said this I think after week 1, or maybe it was last week, but like I'm worried it's a Justin Fields 2.0. Like I'm worried that we're too enamored with the clips and the runs and the crazy passes that it causes a blind spot everywhere else.
Yes.
He leads the league in interceptions this season with 6, and so many of them are just awful. And it's like, dude, what were you seeing? Leads the league in interceptions. He's got the second lowest quarterback or passer rating behind only Bryce Young. His completion percentage is the only one sub 50 at 49.3. His completion percentage over expectation is the lowest at negative 11.3%, lower than Bryce Young, lower than Trevor Lawrence. His EPA per dropback is 7th worst in the NFL. And yeah, he makes he makes throws that almost no quarterback makes.
Yeah.
But he misses throws that almost every quarterback makes.
Yeah, just like the down the middle stuff, short game, bullet it over the dude's head or something.
Yeah.
Just little things.
Now it's early, right? I mean, Josh Allen, I think, will always be kind of an outlier. That year 3 jump that he made. Normally quarterbacks don't do that, but I think Shane Steichen's a good coach. I think they can improve Anthony Richardson, but
of course
he has got to work on his accuracy. Like he's just got to work on the easy throws,
that grind some film, follow the linebackers,
Yeah. It's like he's at the blackjack table and he's going all in on every hand.
Yeah,
it's like
hit me.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like just take the little wins. Like you get an 18, it's okay to stick. It's okay to stick. Like even if the dealer gets 20, it's okay. Like you did the right thing. But yeah, he gets 18, 19. He's like, hit me. You never know, man. You never know. So yeah, I don't blame you for being out on him, but hopefully he can turn it around. I like that. What other Sunday takes did you have? You don't have to give all of them right now, but if you had anything else that stuck out to you.
I have a funny Sunday take. I got to figure out a balance between Saturday drinking and watching college football and being able to wake up and get ready for Sunday. Because it's been a little rough right before noon the last couple Sundays. I guess it's the 3rd week of the season for us too. We're still getting the hang of things. But on a serious
we didn't get a
note,
preseason.
No. On a serious note, what's going on with the Cowboys? Are you already regretting paying Dak and paying CD 2 weeks in?
No, I'm not regretting those at all. As far as what's going on with the Cowboys, I mean, I actually kind of want to pat this podcast on the back a little bit because I felt like when we did the NFC East preview, like all of us were collectively out on the Cowboys. And like a lot of our bets were like, bet Philly and Washington to be the top two, like bet Dallas to miss the playoffs. Like we were all like pretty down on this team. And I think we're seeing why. Like they have too many holes on this roster. They don't have any interior on their defense. They get gashed on the ground, and they don't have any wide receivers outside of CeeDee Lamb. And CeeDee Lamb has been disappointing this season. Like he is, I think, like second worst among qualified wide receivers in average route separation in the NFL. Like he's getting like 1.9 yards of separation on his targets, and he's one of the best route runners in the league. Like it clearly, I don't know if it's just not having a preseason for him and a training camp that he's not quite in shape, maybe. But this team being bad is not a surprise to me at all.
Yeah, the vibes just seem off. I really like your take from early in the year. They just can't play from behind. If that defense is down by 2 scores or more, they're just going to give up.
It's over.
Yep.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this I'm glad you asked about the Cowboys, because this brings me to my stat of the week. And it's a number of stats, and it's all about just how bad this Cowboys defense has been. Are you ready for this? Try to you put your seatbelt on, hold on, because this is going to be a bumpy ride. All right. Last in rush yards per. This is all from the defense, so this is all allowed. Okay. Mm-hmm. Last in rush yards per game at 100. So the most at 185.7 rushing yards per game through 3 weeks. Tied with the Raiders for most rush yards per play at 5.4. Tied with the Giants for most 10-plus rushing yard plays allowed with 17 through 3 weeks. Last in stuff percentage at 6.8%, which stuff percentage is how many times when the opposing team runs the ball do they get either 0 or negative yards on that play. Only 6.8%, which is the worst in the NFL. Last in EPA per rush allowed at plus 0.27. Tied with the Giants for most rush yards after contact per attempt at 4.02. Every single time the opposing team runs the football, they are getting 4 yards after contact on average. Every single time. Giving up the most rushing TDs with 8. Teams are running on the Cowboys the third most, which is 54.4 or 55.4% of the time. And they have allowed the third most rushing yards over expectation at plus 105, behind only the Raiders at 112 and the Giants at 105. This is a unserious team. This is an unserious defense. You could blame Mike Zimmer all you want, but the fact of the matter is they don't have them. They don't have the Jimmies and the Joes. They don't. They don't have defensive tackles. They don't have nose tackles. They don't have competent linebackers, and teams are just running all over them. And it is especially poetic when the most recent culprit was Derrick Henry, who lives in Dallas, trains in Dallas, wanted to play for Dallas, and Jerry Jones says, oh, no, we couldn't afford him.
Yeah. Come on, Jerry. Mr. Moneybags, huh? Can't afford him. No, yeah, that was the last couple of years of the Seahawks before we hired Mike. Like, we just couldn't tackle anybody at the point of contact. They drag us along for a couple yards like you're describing, and I get your pain. That is one of the more frustrating things to watch. Just get him. You're screaming at the TV. Get him.
Yeah, just tackle him. Yeah. But honestly, this has been the story for the Cowboys for what? I don't know. The last decade? Like, how many of the
96?
How many of the gross playoff losses have been just them getting gashed on the ground? Like, I still have nightmares of CJ Anderson for the Rams running all over the Cowboys. And when was that? 2018 or whatever?
Maybe in 2017, yeah.
Oh, hold on. When was that? They lost divisional round. Was it 2018? Yeah, it was 2018. CJ Anderson ran for, are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
212.
Where is 23 attempts, 123 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. CJ Anderson.
Funny thing is, that's probably a good game for this year's defense. That's under the average.
Yeah, that's 60 rush. I mean, they gave up Well, no. Oh.
What?
Okay. So CJ Anderson ran for 123 yards in that game. Todd Gurley also ran for
That
115
guy.
yards and a touchdown.
Okay. Split
So they
action.
combined gave up, excluding the 12 rushing yards from Mr. Jared Goff, just from the running backs, they gave up a combined 238 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Weak
I just
culture, Jerry. Weak culture.
this is I'm so fed up with Jerry Jones. It's like, honestly, the thing that does make me upset. You want to know what makes me upset, Alex?
What?
Is they're
Incompetence.
wasting Brandon Aubrey's prime.
Ugh.
Like, they need to build a better team around Brandon Aubrey. What the heck are they doing?
Did you see the thing where like they ranked him where he'd be at with his points at other positions on fantasy, like to be like the number 4 receiver, the number 16 quarterback, the number 1 tight end. Like,
He'd be the number 1 tight end.
yeah, I mean tight ends just as a whole are down this year.
That should be a rule for fantasy. So I don't like having a designated kicker in fantasy, but it should be a rule that like you can have a kicker on your team and you can play them at any position. It doesn't matter where. They're just a wild card. So like if you want to take Brandon Aubrey in the 3rd round of your draft and have him be your, wide receiver 2, go for it.
I mean, yeah, it's a risk.
Yeah. I don't know.
It would be fun. A little wrinkle.
I kind of like that. Now that I'm thinking about that, I kind of like that.
You can see it coming down. A couple kicks.
I'm going to look at his game log right now. Yeah. Okay. Fantasy points. Are you ready for this? Week 1, he had 21 fantasy points. Week 2, he had 17. Week 3, he had 11. Like,
yeah, it's averaging like 12, 13 a game. That's
crazy.
What like DK is projected to get a game.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he had 176 fantasy points last season. So that comes out to, like 10 a game. Solid,
this is
man.
Huge for pro spring football too, because 2 years ago, this guy was in the USFL, just hanging out.
I know.
Now he's the best
on his couch
kicker in the NFL.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Movie.
All right, real quick, let's rapid fire through some of these.
Yeah.
Eagles beat the Saints 15-12. My one takeaway from this was just, I think this was a regress to the mean game for both teams. Like, I don't think
Sirianni's an idiot.
Yeah.
Stop coming for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't think New Orleans was as good as they looked in the first 2 weeks. No. And I don't think Philly was as bad as they looked in the first 2 weeks. And I think Philly's this team was kind of like, okay, this is kind of who these two teams are.
Yeah. Philly's fine. New Orleans probably middle of the pack with some good wins here or there. Probably 10-win team, 9-win team.
Yeah. All right. Panthers win with Andy Dalton. They beat the Raiders 36-22. Shout out Andy Dalton.
I sort of saw it a bit last year because we played the Panthers when I went to go watch the Seahawks, and Bryce Young was hurt or whatever that week, and Andy Dalton carved us up like he carved up the Raiders this week. Like, he's just a vet's vet. He's a perfect pocket passer. He's going to find the open dude. He knows his reads, and he just knows what to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did.
He's a professional quarterback, man. Like, he just he's that veteran who has been around the block a few times. Like you said, he knows what to do. And, I mean, you think the skill position guys are happy in Carolina?
Hubbard went off. I think Deaton
Deontay Johnson had like 14 targets. Like,
yeah.
Even Xavier Legette looked good. They're rookie. So I will say, like, I thought when they still had Bryce Young, 14 targets, 8 receptions, 122 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown for Deontay Johnson. I thought with Bryce Young that this team was like maybe going to win a game. Like, they were going to be like 1-17. But I don't know, man. Now with Andy Dalton, I think this team could easily like scrape out like 6 wins this season.
Yeah, 5 or 6, none out of the question. I wouldn't really want to play them now. They're going to be scrappy. Andy Dalton is.
And there's I don't know. There's no way they can go back to Bryce this season, right? Unless Andy Dalton gets hurt.
Pretty much, yeah. If Andy Dalton gets concussion or something, that's the only way it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We hit on Derrick Henry running all over the Cowboys, so I can check that off my list. Your Seahawks, Alex. Speaking of 3-0 teams.
I mean, ugly win. We played a team without a quarterback. Our offensive line was crap for half the. I mean, let's just go through the whole game. Started out great, 17-3 start. Then we did nothing for 2 quarters, sort of teeter-tottered with them. Then we knocked out Skylar Thompson, scored one more touchdown, and won 24-3. I mean, nothing to write home about. Still plenty to clean up. Too many flags off the offensive line. The offensive line still isn't holding their blocks as well, especially it's the guys on the left side, the left guard and the left tackle. One is a replacement because of injuries, and the other guy is just not good. Anthony Bradford. I think he leads the league in flags for offensive linemen too, and I hate him. I don't like him. Kills too many drives, but overall, we have our first test coming up Monday night against the Lions. The last 2 times we played the Lions, it's probably been one of the best games in the league. So, guys, mark your calendars. Don't miss this one. It's come down to the wire and take the over.
And take the over.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a Seahawks question for you.
Shoot.
What should be my expectation for how what the distribution is going to look like among the 3 receivers moving forward?
I think every game could be different, man. It's just who is guarding who, which guy sort of knows how to get open against who's guarding who and stuff like that. Like even I'd say if you're looking for a tight end off a waiver wire, I would start looking at Noah Fant because he had 6 catches this week. And he's one of those guys where he catches it on the run, and every once in a while he has the ability to break one. But I think Noah Fant's sort of coming into the groove of this offense. And I think it's just who's against, like I said, who's against who, matchup base, all that. Because there's a lot of mouths to feed. There's a lot of decent guys and stars like DK and then Tyler Lockett. He's not a star anymore, but he's that savvy vet that we're going to go to when we need to run a perfect route and just get it out, throw it to him.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's got Jackson Smith and Jigba in fantasy, I start him in week 1. He didn't do anything, so I was like, okay, I'll bench him and start someone else. Then he pops off in week 2, has 16 targets, 12 receptions, 117 yards. I'm like, okay, all right, maybe they figured out how to incorporate him. So then I put him in my starting lineup for week 3, and 3 targets, 3 receptions, 39 yards. And all 3 of his receptions, they were good. They were long catches, 15 yards, 11 yards, and 18 yards, but just didn't go to him again.
Yeah, hopefully they use him a little bit more, like maybe every other week. Even weeks is when it's JSN time.
So should I start him this week then against Detroit?
I would, just because Detroit does not have the best secondary. I'm just concerned about Aiden Hutchinson coming at us. But if we can block for 3 seconds, I think we got a good chance of a big JSN game, big DK game. Lockett's there too. Yeah.
I'm going to be really curious, how the Seahawks look this week, but then also just kind of moving forward in their schedule, because they're 3-0. And this, I'm not trying to discredit them or anything, because
right
3-0, which is hard to do in the NFL, but it's the Broncos, Bo Nix in week 1. It's the Patriots in week 2, where they, barely beat the Patriots. And then it was, Skylar Thompson, Tim Boyle led Dolphins in week 3. So the Lions will be a really good test. 2 weeks after that, they play the Niners. A week after that, they're at the Falcons. The week after that, they're home versus the Bills. So they've got some tests coming up. So I'm going to be really curious to see how this Mike McDonald defense holds up against, the Lions, the Niners, the Falcons, the Bills.
Yeah, and we got some reinforcements coming. Kenny Walker's missed the last couple games. He should be good to go off another long week of rest. It's a groin injury. We lost actually Byron Murphy and Big Cat Leonard Williams, both D tackles in the middle for this game, but I think they just held them out for Monday night because they didn't want to waste them. against a backup quarterback who they expected to beat, and they did. So should be pretty healthy coming into this game on Monday night. So it's going to be a great test.
Okay. Okay. So speaking of the Lions, so they did outlast the Cardinals 20-13. That was a game where it seemed like in the first quarter that we were primed for like a Big 12 shootout, and then both defenses just hunkered down and said, "No, okay, you're done scoring," and it was a defensive slugfest the rest of the way. I did have a note about Kyler Murray coming out of this game, and I think you'll be curious about it because, you know, being a Seahawks fan, division rival, all that stuff. Obviously, Kyler Murray, for the most part, has looked really good this year. You think back to the Week 2 game against the Rams where he was just, you know, dang near perfect and just dominated. One thing that I did find was, surprisingly, he has not been very good against the blitz this year. And you would think, like, a quarterback like Kyler Murray, who's very shifty, who's fast, who's elusive, like, should be able to handle the blitz, no problem, right?
Yeah.
He's been blitzed on 26 dropbacks, which is a lot. Which I'll pull this up as I'm talking here. All right, let me do right now. Okay, most dropbacks where you've been blitzed. Okay, so 26 is like literally exactly league average. The most is Deshaun Watson with 49, Baker with 41, Caleb Williams Baker with 44, Caleb Williams with 41, and then Geno Smith and Jaden Daniels with 40 of their dropbacks where they've been blitzed. But he's been blitzed on 26 of his dropbacks. He's taken 3 sacks. He is 7 for 19 for 80 yards. And he has the 3rd worst EPA per dropback when blitzed, behind only Will Levis and Bryce Young at a negative 0.78. So 7 for 19 for 80 yards, 3rd worst EPA per dropback against the blitz. I just thought that was a little surprising. You think about who, you know, they play in their division. You get some of those pass rushers for Seattle or San Francisco, pin their ears back, then you might get in trouble if you're Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. All right, and then last thing that I had was just Chiefs finding a way to beat the Falcons. Like it's weird because the Chiefs, I don't feel like have played a good game this season, and yet they're 3-0.
No, what's going on with Travis Kelce, man? I mean, I'm a newer Travis Kelce owner, but I'm just glad I also have Brock Bowers as my dynasty backup because, geez, this guy, is he just hanging out until the playoff push? Or I don't really know.
I think that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, like last year was the year where, like, all right, I'm the only weapon. I got to help out here. But now we got these new young bucks. All right, I'm going to chill until week 12.
Yeah. I think he is dead set on a 3-peat. And so his mindset is just get to January, like try to be healthy, preserve your body, get to January, and then he's going to be converting every single 3rd down for Patrick Mahomes. Like, yeah, I don't think he's going to be a viable fantasy option because I just don't think he really cares about what he does in the regular season.
Yeah. Also, just one thought on just Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico are by far the best team in the NFL right now. Like Chris Collinsworth, every week he makes me laugh 3 or 4 times. Just here's a guy, and then Mike Tirico, I think, has found the perfect balance with him that him and Al Michaels had for so many years. And I think year 3, they're hitting their stride.
Yeah, I would say it's probably neck and neck with them and Buck and Aikman.
Yeah, it's just Buck and Aikman just aren't on as much as they used to be, and they just sort of fall on the back burner for me a bit. Like they have, Monday night standalone, but they don't do enough.
With us moving the pods to Tuesdays, I'm excited to actually listen to Buck and Aikman more, so that should be fun.
That is true. Yeah, that's a good point.
But no, I love Collinsworth, and I think Rosie. I don't think he likes any of the announcers now that I'm thinking about it, because I don't think he hates Joe Buck and he hates. I don't think he likes Collinsworth either, and I'm just like, man, Collinsworth, like I just want him to make the game more enjoyable, and he does that. You know what I mean? Like, Yeah, they're great.
He's just like he's like that dude you like talk to at a bar who just knows football and it's fun to talk to, and he just happens to be announcing the game on Sunday nights. He's got that vibe to him.
Mm-hmm.
I also miss Joe Buck so much announcing baseball, dude. Especially around
I do too.
Ugh.
I do too, man. I know. Oh, I know. I do too. Yeah. So. All right, man.
We have baseball coming up soon, though. Are we doing anything with that, or no Rangers, no coverage?
I mean, we'll probably mention it a few times. I don't know how much we're going to dedicate pod segments to it, but I'm certainly going to watch playoff baseball.
Never seen Shohei on the playoffs.
That's true. That'll be fun. Which shout out to Shohei on getting 50-50 in just electric fashion. Like, that was such a crazy game. That Marlins game, what was it, last Thursday or whatever?
Maybe Wednesday, yeah. And I think he's at like, what, 53 and 50 something now? Like, no one's going to match that for a while. The only guy who's going to match it is Shohei.
I know. It's Shohei. Yeah. Like, I was talking to my father-in-law about this a while ago, and I was like, I know I'm 27. Like, I didn't get to see Mickey Mantle. I didn't get to see, Hank Aaron. I didn't get to see, even like I was really young when Bonds was, breaking his records. Like, you and I were kids. I was like, Shohei Ohtani is the greatest baseball player I've ever seen. Like, I don't know if he's going to have the historical numbers to match, some of the other all-time greats, but he's far and away the greatest player I've ever watched.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he looks like on the mound again next year.
Yeah, me too. All right, man. Any other Sunday takes? Any other thoughts? Anything else before we wrap up this week?
Nah, not really. Just excited as a Seahawks fan, going for 4-0. Hopefully, well, me and Rosie next week will probably be a fun little reaction.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Gonna be sad.
All right, well, that will do it for this week's episode of Making the Call. The dad joke this week: I just burnt 2,500 calories in 20 minutes, Alex.
Wow.
Forgot to take the brownies out of the oven.
That's good. I think it would take a little longer than 25 minutes, but yeah, I get it.
All right, so we'll be back next week, breaking down all the action from week 4 of the NFL season. We'll see if we can get Austin on next week as well, so we can get some of Austin's college corner on the podcast. So I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your week, and we will see you next time.